Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to keep looking at Innistrad and we're going to move on to Repel the Dark, which is a white and green deck. So we've got the deck list here, so we've got 23 creatures, 4 artifacts, 2 sorceries, 5 instants, 2 enchantments and 24 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there. Let's start looking at the cards. So it's green-white human tribal, which is, I think, pretty cool. I quite like it. I think this is really the first time humans really got any kind of tribal focus, really, because they're not, they're normal. But Innistrad, obviously being a world of monsters against humanity, makes sense that the humans banded together and got some buffs. So yeah, I like it. So the foil face rare is Elder of Laurels. 2 in a green for a 2/3. Has an ability 3 in a green. Target creature gets +X/+X till end turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So as we saw from the deck list, a lot of creatures in the deck. So this is going to give usually like a pretty big buff. Yeah, and the fact that it can be done multiple times doesn't require it to tap either. Is maybe a little expensive to use, but it's got a really high ceiling, I think, this ability. So yeah, I think that's just a pretty solid rare to start with. Yeah, I like it. What I like a bit more though is Mentor of the Meek, who's the other rare of the deck. So 2 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 1 if you do draw a card. Like white card draw, I know, which seems crazy. I think this was like, I don't know. I want to say like this is one of the first white cards that really cared about like giving you card draw from, because white has always like not had a great relationship with drawing cards, and I think Mentor of the Meek was like one of the first like real good like proper white draw engines. Maybe, I don't know. It always seemed that way to me. Things like most of the creatures in the deck have power 2 or less, so pretty much everything is going to trigger this effect, and paying just 1 extra when you play a creature just to draw a card is really, really good. This actually it's sort of this thing that looks quite innocent, and then by the time maybe your opponents kill it, like going, oh man, you drew like 3-4 cards off Mentor of the Meek. That's pretty good. So yeah, I think it's 2 really solid rares here that really help the deck do what it's meant to be doing, which is go wide and draw the cards to help you go wide quicker, basically. 2 Hamlet Captains, 1 in a green for a 2/2, so basically a bear. Whenever Hamlet Captain attacks or blocks, all your other humans get +1/+1 till end turn, which is pretty solid, I think. 2 Abyssinian Priest, so 1 in a white for a 1/2. 1 tap and tap target non-human creature. So Master Decoy variant, which I always like to see, always like a decoy creature. So the upside here is that it doesn't require white mana to use, but it can't target humans. So bit of a bit of give and take there. I like it. It's does perfectly well in this deck, I think. 2 Elder Cathar, 2 and a white for a 2/2. When it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. If that creature is a human, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it instead. Unfortunately, not all the creatures in the deck are humans. There are a few non-humans, but vast majority of them are. So this is pretty good. When it dies, gives something +2/+2 permanently. Is again, that's also pretty solid, just like this. Really nice little common, actually, I think. A single Fiend Hunter, so 1 and 2 white for a 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile another target creature, and when it leaves the battlefield, you return the exiled card to the battlefield under owner's control. So not quite Oblivion Ring. Journey to Nowhere is the one from Zendikar, I think is the name of it. I'm sure someone will correct me. But yeah, like that, it has. I mean, this is a good effect, and it's 3 mana and a 1/3 for doing this, like to exile a creature until he goes away. But like with those older like Oblivion Ring cards, if if it's in a deck, you can abuse the timing of the leaves the battlefield, enter the battlefield, which is funny actually because Avacyn Restored, which is the 3rd set in the original Innistrad block, has like a big like flickering theme. So yeah, that was that was the thing. It was even in block that you could do it. But yeah, I won't go into it rules wise. I might leave a link below explaining it if you're sort of newer to the game or need it explained. I don't know. I'm not going to explain it here, but yeah, Fiend Hunter is a good card in any case. And then 2 Avacyn's Pilgrim, 1 green mana for a 1/1, and tap, add white to your mana pool. So basically, land or elves, but giving you white instead, and that's fine because I think white is really the primary color in the deck. I think, from what I remember. So this is fine. And then 2 Selfless Cathar, 1 white mana for a 1/1, 1 white and tap. No. Tap, sacrifice 1 white and sacrifice Selfless Cathar. Creature control, get +1/+1 till end turn. Yeah, this is just like a perfectly nice small. This is a nice effect to have on like a 1-drop, because at least then it can be useful at really any point in the game. A single Slayer of the Wicked, 3 and a white for a 3/2. When it ends the battlefield, you may destroy a vampire, werewolf, or zombie, which is pretty much all the other tribes that are around in Innistrad. So yeah, this is pretty good. Obviously, there are times this will just do nothing, but when you manage to kill a creature with this, then it feels very well costed. Because it's getting a 3/2 and you're getting a free kill spell as well, which is pretty good. And it's nice and flavorful as well. And then 3 Unruly Mobs. These I actually really like Unruly Mob. I'm going to sort of go off on a tangent about Unruly Mob. Let's talk about the card first. So 1 and a white. So whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Unruly Mob, and it's a 1/1. So this is, because the humans you got here are fairly smallish. You've got a few kind of like ones that care about sacrificing themselves or dying, like the Elder Cathar or the Selfless Cathar. So this can ramp up like I think fairly quickly. Let's say once it's got sort of like 2 or 3 counters on it, it's okay. What I really like about Unruly Mob is that every time we've gone to Innistrad, this gets reprinted with this exact same art, but the flavor text keeps changing. So in here, it's they're going like, werewolves aren't the only ones you can hunt in the pack, and then we go to Shadows over Innistrad where the Eldrazi are invading. It's just like, oh god, no! Like now there's. Now there's something, a big tentacle monstrosity, like now we got to get them. And then when we go back Innistrad a third time for Midnight Hunt, it's the Unruly Mob is then just like, right, well, we've had demons reappearing from the Hell Vault, we've had tentacled horrors from beyond the moon, and now it's some werewolves, like, bring it on. And what I really, really wanted in March of the Machine, which is only, at time recording, that's only just released, I really, really wanted Unruly Mob to be reprinted again, with like the Phyrexian invasion portals in the sky behind them, and like the flavor text to be like, here we go again, because these guys, they have it's a rough time to live on Innistrad, it's bad times to be a human on Innistrad. Anyway, that was my tangent about Unruly Mob. I really like Unruly Mob. It's like one of my sort of like favorite cards. I love that it keeps getting reprinted whenever we go back to Innistrad. Anyway, moving on. So 2 Thraben Purebloods, 4 and a white for it. It's just a 3/5. It's fine. It's kind of here to fill space, honestly. I kind of wish it had been almost literally any other card, because I think it's the only non-human in the deck. So it just gets like no benefit from anything, any of the tribal effects. It's just here to fill space. It's essentially just Innistrad flavored Siege Mammoth, Siege Mastodon. So yeah, that's fine. And then a single Elite Vanguard, 1 white mana for just a 2/1. Yep. And a Benelish Veteran, 2 and a white for a 2/2 when it attacks, gets +1/+1 till end turn. Yep, sure. And then 2 Jade Mage, 1 and a green for a 2/1. 2 and a green, put a 1/1 green sapling creature token onto the battlefield. This is really nice actually, because it gives you a repeatable card draw engine with Mentor of the Meek. Like maybe a little expensive at 4 mana, but like 4 mana, to make a 1/1 token and draw a card like repeatably, like which isn't costing you a card from hand, I think is all right. Yeah, I think that's a nice little combo they've built into the deck there. And then 2 Bonds of moving on to non-creature spells now. So we've got 2 Bonds of Faith, so 1 and a white, aura. So if it's on a human, it gives them +2/+2. If it's not on a human, it's pacifism. So I quite like this, like a nice multi. There are going to be the times when you want to, like the biggest problem you want to stop is like an opponent's like human creature, and then you can't use this to stop it. But I say against every other creature type, it's pacifism. So yeah, I think this is good. I like that it can double up as a buff for your side or a pacifism effect. I like it. A single spare from evil, so 1 white. Creatures you control get protection from non-human creatures until end turn. So this is like, I think it's a really strong trick at like 2 mana instant speed. Because if say if you're playing these decks against each other, say, or like even just Innistrad, casual Innistrad constructed, someone's going to be, I want to do a vampire deck and I want to do a zombie deck, that kind of thing. It's like this just be like, I have protection from your whole deck. Really swings at combat because it's either I can block all your stuff and it's absolutely fine, or all my stuff is getting through unblocked. Yeah, I think it's just really good, really strong trick, especially at common, I think. 2 Smite the Monstrous, 3 and a white. Instant destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Yep, this is fine. White usually gets this kind of effect like once per set. Destroying a creature with a certain high power, and like I always think it's slightly overcosted for the effect, but it's fine because just because it is specific, but it's fine. It's fine. And then a single Blazing Torch, 1 mana artifact. Equipment. Equipped creature can't be blocked by vampires or zombies. And it has tap, sacrifice Blazing Torch. Blazing Torch does 2 damage to target creature or player, and it equips for only 1. So yeah, again, against like most decks, like that blocking restriction might not really affect anything, but at the very least, you can equip this, throw the Blazing Torch, and do some burn damage to a creature or player. So yeah, it's actually a pretty nice way of giving this white-green deck a way of doing some indirect damage. I quite like it. And then we got a bunch of like human masters equipment, which I think is like really fun. Like basically all these like farm tools and stuff that become more powerful if humans use them, which I think is like really fun from like design and narrative wise and stuff. Whether or not they're actually good themselves is I just think the flavor is really good, which is something Innistrad does very well. Like it's very flavorful. So you have a Butcher's Cleaver, which is 3 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+0, but if it's a human, it also gets lifelink and equip 3. So a little expensive to equip, but +3/+0 and lifelink is pretty solid, I think. And then a Sharpened Pitchfork, so 2 mana equipment, equip for 1. Equipped creature has first strike, and as long as it's a human, it gets +1/+1. So +1/+1 on first strike for equipping for only 1, I think is that's pretty solid as well. Yeah, and then a Silver Inlay Dagger, 1 mana, equipped creature gets +2/+0. As long as it's human, it gets +1, an additional +1/+0. Equip 2, so equipping 2 to give something like +3/+0 is also, I think, pretty strong. So you could just load up 1 human with like a Butcher's Cleaver, a Pitchfork, and a Silver Inlay Dagger, and they'd be an absolute monster to try and deal with. So yeah, I really like these human matters equipments, and I think there's a few more in the later Innistrad sets, but I think the majority of them are here. So then we have a single Bramble Crush. So this is like basically the new Creeping Mold. If you're a veteran player and remember Creeping Mold, 2 and 2 green sorcery, destroy a non-creature permanent. So original Creeping Mold could get artifacts, enchantments, and lands. So Bramble Crush, the only real differences make is that this can get planeswalkers, and I guess now battles. I think it can destroy battles. Because they're non-creature permanents, so yeah. A single Overrun, this is really nice in a deck that wants to go wide. So 2 and 3 green to give all your stuff +3/+3 and trample on turn. Yep, just usually ends games there, and say this is really nice on a deck that's going wide with a bunch of small creatures anyway. And then 2 Titanic Growth, 1 and a green just to give something +4/+4 to turn. Yep, another good buff spell. And then 14 plains and 10 forests. So, what could have been? So I do think the the card selection here is pretty good. I can't think of anything in here that's super bad, honestly. Like maybe the Thraben Purebloods, but like that's such a minor thing. That's just kind of chaff that's there to be cut anyway. What could we have had? So I was thinking Champion of the Parish, but this might have been maybe too good, maybe for the deck. And also I think the 2 rares in here are pretty fine anyway. Elder of Laurels I think is like perfectly fine intro pack rare, and Mentor of the Meek is like a bit more solid. Champion of the Parish though is fun. 1 white mana for 1/1, and then whenever another human enters the battlefield under control, he gets +1/+1 counter, so it just keeps getting bigger and bigger for every human that you play, which is pretty fun. Village Bellringer would have actually liked at least one of these, I think. So 2 and a white for 1/4 with flash, and when it ends the battlefield, you untap all your creatures. So really nice. You swing out with everything. Opponent thinks like, oh well, they're tapped out on attack, and then you drop Village Bellringer, untap everything, and then you're ready to block again. Or you do this even in the middle of combat. You've tapped all your stuff, and then you untap them anyway. But yeah, I think it's just like a really fun effect, like untapping all your creatures. Really fun. At least you could have had this instead of, I don't know, 1 Thraben Purebloods, maybe? I don't know. And then Travel Preparations. This is like a really, really fun card. I really wish it had been in here. So 1 no green. Sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 type creatures, and it has flashback. Really, really cheap flashback actually for 1 and a white. So this is again, this is sort of something that looks so innocent, but you're giving 2 creatures +1/+1, and then you can flash it back again. It is at sorcery speed, I suppose. I just really like this card. I mean, I think it would have been fine in here anyway. But I've only put it in here because I actually really like this card. Just because this goes really well, like with all the Theros, like heroic cards, because I've used this in a deck with them before. It did a lot of work there. But I think it would have been nice here. I think it's just like a fun, cheap little card just to sort of spread out, essentially for 4 mana, spread out 4 +1/+1 counters. I think it would have been all right. Help your small humans sort of buff up a bit more. Yeah. So in summary, yeah, this one I think is pretty good. But what are your thoughts on it? If you got any thoughts, stories, comments, opinions about the humans of Innistrad, stick a comment below. I'll give it a read. But yeah, I'll be back next time. Go look at the last Innistrad intro pack. But until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a good day.